Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday. It's trash day. Wednesday trash day. Trash is at the curb. Took it out last night. Played a little bar trivia. We're going to play bar trivia this morning. Coffee bar trivia. Trash is at the curb. Happy Wednesday. Good morning. A lot going on yesterday. Oh, I forgot to tell a story yesterday. Forgot to share a story. We had the cleaners come on Monday, and I went upstairs to grab a bottle of water. I opened the refrigerator door, and the light didn't come on inside the refrigerator. Shit. It's like, is all of this crap going to break at the same time? We've had to replace our exhaust fan thing in both of our bathrooms upstairs, 1 month apart. Mine went out first. A month later, my wife's, her fancy bathroom went out. The guy comes over. He's like, was I just here? Yeah, you were. Same thing, different bathroom. Now the refrigerator. Shit. Maybe a light switch got turned off or something. So I'm looking around. Nope. And the outside, the ice dispenser on the outside of the fridge, lights weren't working there. Son of a. So I pull the fridge out. Look, it's all plugged in. Maybe circuit breaker. No, it wasn't that. Shit. Now I'm out of troubleshooting options. So I Google it. Just in hopes, because it was just, I found the timing. The timing was odd. That right after the cleaners were here, the lights stopped working. Did they break my refrigerator? So I Google it. Do you know there is such a thing on a refrigerator called Sabbath mode? During the Sabbath, those who follow those traditions can't use electricity. So refrigerators have what's called a Sabbath mode. For whatever, I don't know how you turn on Sabbath mode, but I found out how to turn it off. Press and hold lock and light for 10 seconds. Push them together, 10 seconds. Boom, lights come on. Sabbath mode, it's a thing. So I told my wife the story. First thing she says is, thank God you didn't text me. She's stressed out enough. So I told her about Sabbath mode, and she's like, oh. She's like, yeah, I've heard of that. I didn't know our refrigerator had Sabbath mode. Now you know. So we have 4 weeks left of our refrigerator with Sabbath mode. Speaking of, stuff's coming along. We got some more stuff. I'm going to do a walkthrough maybe today to tomorrow. Do another video because a lot's been done since the last time I put out a video. Not much like in my basement. Well, I've got cabinets in my office. That's about. I mean, really, that's the I didn't think this at the beginning, but there's really no excitement to building the ultimate card room until the cards are in there, because it's just walls and floor. That's it. Nothing else. So I've got cabinets in there, which was it was an oopsie upstairs, so paid off for me. So I'll do a video walk through of everything. But movers, our moving company came over to look around and kind of quote us. So he's giving my wife crap about art, because my wife loves art, buys art. It's what her mom does. So the moving guy, he knows my mother-in-law, the notorious MIL. He's like, you're turning into your mom. She's like, don't say that. He's like, you need to stop buying things. I'm like, oh man, you don't want to go downstairs, or actually, but I need you to, because I'm not moving this crap. So we come downstairs and he goes, oh, Yeah, we're going to need a full crew and 2 full days for this job. I'm like, yeah, that's what I was afraid of. Good news is he's a big Cubs fan. I think we talked because he moved my wife's grandma, my mother-in-law. He's moved some stuff, like random, like big stuff that, most people just call a buddy, but I don't want to do any heavy lifting. So we call the moving company. Hey, can you move a few pieces of furniture for us? So he's a big Cubs fan. He went to Wrigley with his family last week. He's like, we won't go to Miller. I'm like, that's good. Good. He's like, yeah, I grew up going to Cubs. Ken Holtzman pitched the first game I went to. So that's good. So we had a little Cubs talk. Played bar trivia last night. What else happened? There was something else that I wanted to touch on. Oh, we'll get to this eventually, but I want to talk about Fanatic. And I was getting ready I was in bed, staring zombie at my phone before bed. And that's probably why I have wacky ass dreams, is because I'm scrolling, looking at wild ass shit on the internet. And so some wild ass shit came up about Fanatics. Tweet from Watch the Breaks, hearing Topps sent out revised terms of service to their hobby shop program today. Highlights include must-have dedicated Topps-only spot in the shop. Okay, we want that. That's cool. And then it goes down from there. No B2B selling of sealed product, like DealerNet. None of that. And then this one, holy moly, breaks can be done live in the shop. Spots cannot be sold online or other platforms. So I didn't want to talk about that today, but Real Breaks, my buddies at Real Breaks, Minnesota and Wisconsin, kind of confirmed this based on a tweet. Sorry, somebody mentioned about online sales, and Real Breaks Live, the official Real Breaks Twitter account, said, sorry, they did prohibit all shops from selling Topps product online. So you can't even go to I want to buy something from Real Breaks, but I don't want to drive to their shop. I can't order it online from them based on what this apparently. That's wild. So I want to go into more of that. Normally, I don't like to share my opinions, but I do want to share my opinions about this because I've talked previously about the whole Fanatics crap, and I want to admit that if true, I was wrong. So let's go to the chat. We're going to play some bar trivia this morning. Coffee bar trivia. I bet you won't know the answers to these, and you will be surprised how many answers we knew. That means you probably will know the answers. Actually, many of these trivia questions were surprisingly easy. Shane's in the house. Good morning. Scott, what's happening? David, good morning. Kyle is here. Donald, good morning. He says, hit that like button. Thank you, sir. Tracy, good morning. Flipping Sports Guy says, I'm quite surprised. Bar trivia night and Bo shows up to work on time, looking awake. Hey. Shane says, I feel like I want to try this with my fridge, but something will happen and won't be able to switch it back. Google it. Just Google it. You should be okay. Dan in the house. Korean Cardboard, good morning. Good evening to you. Brian Dean, what's up? Mark Marinello is here. Card Hobbyist. George, what's happening? Fanatics going for the full monopoly. Yeah. We'll talk. Let's play trivia first. Let's save the worst for last. So Fanatics pulling out the schlong and slanging it. Yeah, they're slanging their schlongs at Fanatics. So we played some bar trivia. So here's the funny thing about bar trivia last night. So we used to play, and I mentioned this yesterday, Keep the Fibs Out was our name because some of us were from Illinois, lived in Illinois, all that. So it was the genesis was the sign, local comedian, regional comedian, said, build a wall, keep the fibs out. It was timely because of the whole wall stuff down at the border. So we became Keep the Fibs Out. And we just kind of stuck with that name. We typically played trivia every Wednesday night at a local sports bar called Tanner's in Middleton. Tanner's Sports Bar. Randy was the trivia master, and he was freaking awesome because he was fun, engaging, and he wasn't. There's another trivia guy locally that he uses his radio voice, and he talks like this. Let me see if I can do. And it's like over the top annoying. Let me try to find a question, and I'll do it in this other. This is not Randy, by the way. This is the other guy. I don't know. But he's over the top trivia. And I'm like, make it stop. My ears are bleeding. Make it stop. So, anyway, Randy's awesome. And he also drops little hints in the songs he plays. That, my friends, is the sign of a great trivia master. So he will play songs in the middle. So there was so I'm just going to throw out one question. Where was it? It was so the category was TV. And the question was, which star of the Connors turned 71 recently? So I'm like, oh, it could be a couple different people. Like it's got to be John Goodman. But we weren't sure. It could have been, sometimes in trivia they throw you curveballs and you think the obvious and it's not. It is John Goodman. Yes, C&M Collectibles, Mark Marinello. It is John Goodman. But to the confirmation of the answer actually being John Goodman was in the music he plays. So each question, following each question, there's a song played. And so Randy sprinkles in music that typically there's a hint. So the song he played was Good by Good. Who sings that song? Frickin' A. I should know this. Good song. 90s. Good. Who sang Good? The song Good. I Googled it, and of course it's like good songs of the 90s. Good. Somebody's going to know it. Better Than Ezra. Thank you. Better Than Ezra. So I knew it. Like, yes, it is John Goodman. Confirmed. John Goodman. And yes, John Goodman was the answer. So that's why we like Randy. When you ask questions aloud, look at chat first. Me? I don't know what that means. So Randy's off. So we love Randy. So COVID hit. COVID hit back in what year? 2020. In fact, our trivia team, keep the fibs out. So there's like 7 or 8 of us. But typically our team was like, we were at like half staff most weeks. And we'd have like 3 or 4 of our 7 or 8 guys. Ironically, the night the world shut down from COVID, now we're talking the sneeze heard around the world, the cough or whatever, the Rudy Gobert cough. They're shutting down NBA games mid-game. They announced no fans at the NCAA tournament, which ended up being canceled altogether. That was the night. It was a Wednesday night in early March of 2020, and we were watching it all go down. Our entire team, like all 7 of us, made it to trivia that night. And we're watching it on all the TVs like, holy shit, this is serious. And I think we got like 2nd place. That was the last time. In fact, since Tanner's Sports Bar in Middleton has been bulldozed. They moved locations, and they're putting up a Cooper's Hawk. I've heard of it. It's like a chain. Tanner's is kind of a chain, but like the rest of their restaurants are in like Arizona and Colorado. It's weird. It's like Arizona, Colorado, and Middleton, Wisconsin. I think there might be a Milwaukee location. I don't know. But anyway, so we stopped playing trivia. Obviously, everybody stopped doing everything in 2020 except buying baseball cards. Here I am. So we stopped playing trivia once. C&M says Tanner's has several in KC. Okay, yeah, KC. I think when I say that, there's actually a bunch. I think I'm actually wrong. There's Tanner's Sports Bar. I think there's more than what I'm leading on. Yeah, Kimberly, which I think is Green Bay. Anyway, so yeah. So once COVID kind of, when you were able to go out again, we played like hit or miss, but it wasn't this. It wasn't like a weekly, hey, we're getting together for trivia. That is a thing of the past. We're bouncing around World of Beer, Hop House, Mr. Brews. Those are some of the places we play trivia. And, some of the, we get, sometimes they're boring trivia masters. They don't play the Randy games. They're the over-the-top radio guy. And it's just like, man, I miss Randy. So 2 weeks ago, one of the guys in the group's like, hey, we got to get trivia going. I've been trying to get trivia going for like 2 years. And then all of a sudden he gets this light bulb. Hey, we should get trivia going. No shit we should. You never respond to my text messages. So I couldn't. It was because last Tuesday was, or 2 weeks ago, Tuesday was my birthday. My wife and I went out. So I'm like, I can't. We got plans, but let's, for sure, let's do it. So we didn't do it last week, but did it. Let's do it Tuesday. And of course, the guy who originally sent the text out 2 weeks ago doesn't respond. Come on, man. So it's like, okay, Tuesday night. I'm tired of World of Beer trivia because it kind of sucks. Hop House, it's over-the-top radio guy, but it's a really cool location. They got decent food. They've got a big-ass patio. So let's do Hop House Fitchburg. So I sent a reminder text out yesterday. And I look online, Hop House or League, it's not League Trivia anymore. It's America's Pub Quiz, I think. And all of a sudden, there's like nothing for Hop House Fitchburg. It's like, what? They're closed for a private party. Are you effing kidding me? So I sent out, cancel. We're not doing Hop House Fitchburg. These are the options. A couple of them are downtown where we're like the old men in College Town. Or World of Beer, which, So it's like, okay, let's do World of Beer. So I don't know how Randy got brought up, but so I Google Randy Madison Trivia because the company he worked for like went under. League Trivia of Madison, no longer. So I Googled Randy Madison Trivia, and boom, there's like a image that pops up. Tonight, Randy at Timeout Sports Bar and Grill. And I look, and unfortunately, the post was from 2021. It's 2 years old. Well, shit. Well, I'm going to click on this. Well, let's see if this place does trivia. Not only does this place change its name in the last 2 years, it's now Patty Max in Verona. They changed their name. They still do trivia. Randy is the trivia master, and Randy was there last night. Boom. It's the trifecta of trivia. So we're going to see Randy. So we only had 3 of us. So I checked in. I got there early, checked in. I'm like, Randy, long time no see. He's like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, we're Keep the Fibs. It's been like 3 years. He's like, oh, I know. And I told him the story. I'm like, we've been talking about you for the last 2 years since trivia started again. And we miss you because we don't like any of the other trivia masters. No offense to them, but they're just not Randy. And I said, I actually Googled your name with Madison Trivia, and that's how I found you. I had no idea. I'm like, what happened to League Trivia? He's like, yeah, it went under. It's kind of been taken over by Dream Day Entertainment. And I'm like, I had no idea. Whenever I Google Madison Trivia, it's either America's Pub Quiz or the other one. I can't remember the name. So here we are. We've been reunited with our favorite trivia master named Randy. Okay, so let's play some trivia. Let's get into the chat. Let's see. George says, better than Ezra, was a great show. Had a fun time in the Grove at Ole Miss for a concert of theirs. Tanner's has several locations here in KC. Flawed Thinkers in the house. Good morning. I just dropped off my dog for a spa day. Very nice. Matt Like in the house. I was sitting in the Cedar Rapids airport that famous night, 10 minutes from boarding a flight to Arizona for a week-long spring break family vacation. That was a weird trip. That would have been a weird trip. That was just like, I mean, it's something we'll talk about for the rest of our lives. And like, kids, your kids that may not have been around for that or too young for that, you're going to explain it and it's just going to be so foreign. It's going to be, it's one of those historical events that you will never forget. You will always remember what you were doing when all that broke. Herman in the house, what's up? Good morning. Shane says he's sorry you had to be in Cedar Rapids. I think Matt's from Cedar. I think Matt lives in Cedar Rapids, right? Shaw Cards in the house. Sal Dougie is here. Good morning. C&M says there's nothing worse than trivia masters that are not Randy. I know. Tiger 727. Good morning. Just in time for trivia. Bar trivia last night. So I keep my sheet. Charles, good morning. Listening and shipping and coffee. Oh, listing and shipping. Awesome. The trifecta. I casually listed like 1,000 items yesterday, just kind of random. A lot of 82 Don. I had a box of 82 Donruss. I'm like, this will be easy. Single sell fairly, not semi-regularly. A lot of TTMs or set builders. So I did a bunch of 82 Donruss. I did some random football singles, did some baseball singles. But I think all in all, I did almost 1,000 listings. Got up over the 40,000 mark. Again, it's been a while. And then shortly after I made a lot of sales. It's crazy how that happens. And the funny thing is, I list all those and I make a crazy amount of sales, way more than the last few days, but yet they weren't like the new cards. So it definitely affects the algorithm. So let's play trivia. Matt does confirm he is in the Cedar Rapids metro area. I was definitely worried that trip that domestic flights were going to be shut down, so I spent a lot of time Google mapping my potential 25-hour drive home to Iowa if needed. Yeah, I was down at spring training a couple weeks prior at the beginning of March, and I was there was another guy from Wisconsin who was getting ready to fly out. We might have flew out the same day, and he had actually called his rental car agency in case domestic flights were shut down. How much would it cost for him to drive back to Wisconsin in his rental car? And it was like $2,100. And I think I talked about this. I wasn't doing Hobby Evolution, but I started Hobby Evolution a few months later and talking about that. But yeah, it was like they quoted him like $2,100 because apparently the drop-off fee or something. It was insurance or drop-off, something crazy. But it was like $2,100 for him to drive his car back to Green Bay. George is hungry. He's going to make himself a quesadilla or something. Let's see. Shane says, I grew up and lived in Marion for 32 years. Cedar Rapids has changed so much in the last 5. We already had Cubs spring training tickets for March 13th, and the world shut down the day before. That blows. Trivia. Speaking of sports, let's start with a sports trivia. The category was sports. This was in round 4. So there's 6 rounds. There's 3 questions per round, and there's 2 halves. So the first half consists of 3 rounds of 3 questions each. Then there's a halftime question, a second round with 3 rounds, 3 questions each, and then a final question. I'm going to tell you what happened in the final question. Bo effed up. So in the category of sports, which Major League Baseball team has a mascot named Orbit? Which Major League Baseball team has a mascot named Orbit? We went all in. It was the first question of round 4. We did 6 points. We've got some smart people in the house. The Astros is correct. See, and a lot of questions were like just that easy. So this question, the very next question, we actually got wrong. And now I've got to look it up because I only wrote what our answer was, which was not correct. I've got to Google it. Okay, here. Okay. So the category is games. What was the original name of Pokemon? It's kind of a play on the original. Pokemon is a play on the original name. What was it? Matt says, I want my winning bar trivia answers added to my Name That Player scoreboard. Yes. Flawed Thinker nailed it. Pocket Monsters. Yes, that is correct. Pocket Monsters. We were close. We said Pokemonsters, but that was not correct. And we put, I think we put 4 because one of the guys was pretty confident it was Pokemon. He was close. But then there's a strategy. So we put our 6 points down on the first question, which we got correct. And then it's like, do you want to go 2 or 4 points? Because you answer 2, 4, or 6. You can only use one. You can only use each once. So, but the category TV is such a broad category. We already did that, John Goodman, and we put 2 points on John Goodman because we only had a 2-pointer left. We wasted our 4-point on Pokemonsters, which we got wrong. Yeah, and had we put 2 points on Pokemon, on Pocketmon, on that question, and then put the 4 points on TV, we would have moved from 4th place into 2nd place. We finished in 4th place out of 18 teams. Had we flip-flopped those point values, we would have been in 2nd place. If it weren't for my dumbass decision at the end during Final Jeopardy, Final Trivia, here's the thing. Back in the day with Randy, the final, and still today with the other trivia companies, you can bet up to 15 points on the final question. It's kind of like Jeopardy. He gives you, so the final, was it politics? It was couples. Couples was the final category. So you can go in, and we were in a tie for 2nd place at the end. So the first place team had 63 points going into Final Jeopardy. We'll call it Final Jeopardy. We had 60 points along with 2 other teams. So I'm like, let's do 15 points. My buddy Zach goes, let's do 20. I'm like, no, you can't do 20. You can only max at 15. He's like, oh, okay. Little did I know, this trivia company is different. And they go up to a max of 20. So we bet 15 points. We got it right. We'll get back to it here in a second. So we ended up with 75 points. All of a sudden, he's reading through, and I'm like, we're going to get 2nd place, 2nd place, 2nd place. Or a tie for 2nd. Well, but he had already announced there's no ties. I'm like, oh, that's weird. So, hey, maybe we get 1st place. All of a sudden, he gets to 4th place with 75 points. I'm like, wait, we have 75 points. Keep the fibs out. What? 4th place? In 3rd place with 77 points. Okay, wait. 80 points. And the winners with 83 points. I'm like, that's 20 points. And then I look, son of a bitch, 20 points. So I effed up. So we would have been in a tie. So even without flip-flopping, if I would have just, all things as it were, we would have been in a tie for 2nd place. And then let's see, had we flip-flopped those, we would have been alone in 2nd place, but we would not have had enough to be in 1st. So that's how crazy the strategy can be in trivia, based on point values and all how you wager at the end, especially. And then dumbass Bo puts 15 points down, and we get fourth place when we should have been in a tie for second. So we'll get to the final question here in a moment. Let's do some others. The very first question was like, are you kidding me? This is like the easiest question. What is Walmart's, what the hell do you call it? Membership club called? It's like, why is that a question? That's like, here's 5 free points. Who knows it? Everybody knows it. Sam's Club. Sam's Club. So that was the first question. Second question was also a gimme. What holiday did Joe Biden sign into law last year? We just celebrated it on Monday, Juneteenth. This, though, the third question was a little trickier. T206 kid had no idea on the Walmart. Sam's Club, yeah. Movies was the category. In Austin Powers 2, who was Austin Powers' love interest? So this was like a debate we had. Fortunately, I said it's this woman, and here's why. There were 3. There were 3, and so he wanted the actress's name, not the. He did actually give the. He gave the character name. I can't remember what the character name was. So he did give us the character name. We had to name the actress. So there were 3 love interests in the 3 movies of Austin Powers. So I see a couple wrong answers. I see a couple right answers. So in the original Austin Powers, his love interest was Elizabeth Hurley. Beyonce was his love interest, but in the 3rd installment. And yes, Heather Graham, a couple people got it. Heather Graham was Austin Powers' love interest in the sequel, movie number 2. So yes, Heather Graham. My buddy said Beyonce, and I'm like, I don't think it was Beyonce in the second one. And I'm like, it was either Hurley or Graham. And then my other buddy was like, I'm pretty sure Hurley was the first one. And I'm like, okay, it's got to be Heather. I know it's not Beyonce. So that was so we got that one right. Mike's in the house. What's up, Mike? When you see an auction on eBay immediately get relisted, do you also assume shill bidding gone wrong to where they got too greedy? No, I don't. Because as a seller, I hate auctions, by the way. We all know that. What often happens, and I mean, it could have been shilled, but not by the seller. It could have been shilled by some rando. And I don't know if it's kind of hard. Thank you. Felicity Shagwell was Heather Graham's name. But in many cases, it's shilled up by some rando that wants to create a false comp. And then they say, hey, my kid accidentally bid on this. Can you cancel my bid? So usually, and so I guess I don't know exactly, shill bidding can be taken different ways, because technically bidding up for a false comp and not with no intention of paying for it is still shill bidding. But I think we get tied up in shill bidding being, hey, calling a friend, hey, can you bid up my item? Or if you send a card into a consignment company and you or someone you know bids it up as shill bidding, or somebody has a second account to shill bid. So I typically, my thought process in that case would be, if it immediately gets relisted, it's one of those, can you cancel? My kid bid this. BS. Spy Who Shagged Me was definitely the best one. I haven't seen any of the Austin Powers movies in a long time. Heather Graham is the female equivalent of Steve Carlton. Brilliant, but something isn't quite right. So what are some of the other? I'll pick out a few more. Let's see. This was a fun one. What was the first decade? The category is decades. Which decade was the first credit card introduced? So one of the guys in my group said I think his mom worked in marketing for a credit card company, like in what he thought was the early days. And so I see a couple different decades being rolled out. And there is a correct answer. There's also, I feel funny because John and I agree on something. So my guess was the 1930s, and the reasoning behind my guess was the Depression. The Great Depression was going on. Cash was at an all-time low, so you had to have credit. And so they probably started credit cards in the 1930s because of that. Wrong. The 1930s is not correct. That was our guess. We ended up going with the 30s, and it was wrong. The music clue, actually, now that I think about it, it was a clue. Damn it. The musical clue he played was Uncle Tom's Diner, okay? So my thought process was it is a musical clue. We were thinking in those 3 words, we were thinking the wrong side. We were thinking Uncle Tom's, as in Uncle Tom's Cabin. So we were like, oh, it could go back to like the Civil War days, the 1800s. My buddy was like, so we ended up, Tom Coleman, what's up? So Tom, the trivia question is, I bet Tom's going to like trivia. The trivia question was, which decade was the first credit card introduced? And it's not the 1930s. We just gave that away. So then we thought maybe it was the 1800s. So we ended up we turned in the 1930s was our answer. Again, it was wrong. Only had 1 point on that one, so that was good. So after we turned it in, Brad, who was adamant that it was the 1960s because his mom was working in marketing for, and it was kind of a new thing. I'm like, so what would your answer be? He's like 1960s. He's like, maybe it could have been the 1950s, but I'm going to say the 1960s. So the 1960s would have been his final answer. So I didn't feel as bad because the 1960s was also wrong. Many people in the chat got it correct. 1950s. And that clue, as Charles typed in, guessing it was Diners Club, there's the clue to the song he played. Uncle Tom's Diner. Diners Club was the first credit card. The answer, 1950s. Wah, wah. So that was the only question we missed in the first round. So we got 26 out of 27 points in the first round. Halftime question was tricky. You need to match the first ladies with their presidents. The first lady names, Lou. Unfortunately, he didn't give us the last names. That would have made it so much easier. Lou, Julia, Ida, Florence, and Martha. So those were the first ladies you have to match with presidents. The good thing is he actually did give you 5 presidents to match them. So again, the first ladies were Lou, Julia, Ida, Florence, and Martha. So the presidents were Thomas Jefferson, John Tyler, William McKinley, Warren Harding, and Herbert Hoover. So we had to match the first ladies with those presidents. Mark says Martha is a gimme. So yeah, we did get that one. We got 3 of the 5 correct. So Lou, Julia, Ida, Florence, Martha, and they were either Jefferson, Tyler, McKinley, Harding, or Hoover. Mark says Martha is a gimme. Card Hobbyist says no clue. That's basically what my reaction was. I'm like, I think it was Martha Jefferson. It was. So we got that. One of my buddies was like, oh, yeah, it's definitely Martha Jefferson. It's a gimme, as Mark said. The other 2 we guessed correctly were Hoover, which was Julia. So it was Julia Hoover, Florence Harding, and Ida McKinley. So we got those correct. And then it was Lou. Or did I screw? I think I might have screwed those up. We ended up getting 3 correct. So which one? I think we flip-flopped Lou and Julia. We got Martha Jefferson. We got Florence Harding. We got Ida McKinley. Oh, so I think it was Lou Hoover and Julia Tyler. Lou Hoover, Julia Tyler. Lou Hoover, Julia Tyler, Ida McKinley, Florence Harding, Martha Jefferson. So we got 3 of the 5. Wikipedia is saying American Airlines offered a credit card in the 1930s. Interesting. Let's see. So we need to go back to Randy next week. Hey, you owe us. I think a point wouldn't have mattered for us. It might actually, if we would have fought that, it might have hurt us in the end because we only had 1 point on that. Other teams could have moved ahead of us. Mark said, learned that in high school history. George Washington and Thomas Jefferson's wife had the same name. So that was halftime. Second half, we did sports, we did games, we did TV. What came first, the iPad or the Kindle? We got that one correct. That was just kind of a guess on my part. I think one of the guys knew who it was or what it was. It was Kindle. Kindle came first, 2007. iPad introduced in 2010. Census was the category. And the next question in round 5, what is on population the 3rd largest city in California? Now, we got this correct only because I don't think I would have got this on my own. I knew this city was one of the largest population-wise in California, which many people, it's like, oh, really? It's one of those. But it was the free answer of the day. So if you go to the website, Dream Day Entertainment, they give you a free answer. And John nailed it. It is San Jose. A lot of people are like, San Jose, really? I would have guessed like that would have been in my top 10. But I did know San Jose was one of the larger cities in California. So San Jose was the correct answer. Movie links. These are always tough. Which actor or actress appeared in the following 4 movies? 1993, Rookie of the Year. 1999, 8mm. 2009, Up in the Air. And 2011, The Dilemma. So which actor or actress appeared in all 4 of those movies? I've never seen The Dilemma. I've never seen Up in the Air. And I don't remember watching 8mm. John says Clooney. That's what my buddy, he's like, I know Clooney was in this movie. And I'm like, well, Clooney was not in Rookie of the Year. That was the only basis I had, was who was in Rookie of the Year. I knew Gary Busey was in Rookie of the Year. I knew Thomas Ian Nicholas was in Rookie of the Year. I knew Daniel Stern was in Rookie of the Year. And then I'm like, but I don't know the mom and stepdad in the movie Rookie of the Year. We guessed Busey. The answer was the mom. Amy Martin is her name. Amy Martin was the correct answer. So we had to go 4 points because we bet 2 on tech. And then we did go 6 on the free question. So we had 4. So we went 4. So Amy Martin was the movie link. Let's see. A musical clue gave us this one. In the category of animals, what animal, like grouping, is called a gaze or a nursery? Flipping Sports Guy was going to guess Sacramento. I think that's what when I came home, I always quiz my wife, and she said she was thinking Sacramento. So let's see. Village People. So what group of animals is called a gaze or a nursery? He played a song. Giraffe is a good answer, not correct. He played a song, and this is what gave it away. We had no idea. Damn it, John. We had no idea, but he played a song by a band here in Madison. The band by the name of Garbage, which 2 of the band members are from here in Madison. So the band Garbage, and I'm like, raccoon? So we guessed raccoon, and it was correct. And that was the musical clue, musical hint was garbage, raccoons eat garbage. Let's see. Second one in the category, we're almost done, I swear. Garbage is the best thin gout of whiskey ever. in the category of one-hit wonders, which is like, I love one-hit wonders. And then he goes, one hit in the category of one-hit wonders from 1996. I'm like, yes! I know it already. He played like the first second. I could have beat Shazam on this because I knew as soon as that first chord hit or whatever you call it, it's Barely Breathing by Duncan Sheik. Boom. He hadn't even finished reading the question before we were turning our paper slip in. Duncan Sheik, Barely Breathing. And then I've been playing bar trivia for going on 8-9 years now. I've never had a word problem. Until last night. The category was math, and we had to math. I'm pretty proud of myself. I did this without a calculator. I did this all by hand. So the question was, a farmer sells his milk for 20 cents a pint. He sells 200 pints per week, assuming 52 weeks in a year. What is the farmer's annual revenue? Tom says generation gap right here. Tom, you should join us for trivia night because we need a different, because all of the guys that I typically play trivia with are 40. So we need an older generation player and a younger generation player, because when they start doing like 2000s, like 21st century stuff, like my music like expertise like stops at 2005. But I can nail 80s and 90s. But we need like a 60s and 70s star, and then we need a millennial to round out our crew. So in the category of math, farmer sells his milk 20 cents a pint, sells 200 pints per week, assuming 52 weeks a year. What's the farmer's annual revenue? So you multiply 200 pints times 20 cents. So I'm doing this by hand. Yes, the answer is 2,080. And so I'm doing the math, and my buddy's like, 4,000. What's 4,000 times 52? I'm like, that's cents. I'm like, he's like, oh, so it's $400. I'm like, no, it's 40. You got to move the decimal 2 places. 2,080 is the correct answer. Card Hobbyist got it. Tom got it. I know. I'm like, oh, are you kidding me? And what 18-year-old Bo would have been like, I'm out. You guys do the math. So let's so final question. I already spoiled it. We got it correct, but we only wagered 15 points when we could have wagered 20. So it kept us out of the money. You get like a gift card to the bar, which I still have like $50 in gift cards to Tanner's. We always talked about let's just get together and they don't do trivia now. So it's like, bummer. Anyway, the category in the final category was couples. Length of marriage, longest to shortest. And I knew if my wife would have been there, I knew she would have got this. We ended up getting this correct. We already went through that. But here's how we did it. So what we do when we are and typically this is how the final question goes in this trivia league. It's like a longest to shortest, and it's kind of tricky. So length of marriage, longest to shortest, these couples, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. Portia, Portia de Rossi and Ellen DeGeneres. Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. I'm like, oh man, this is tough. So immediately my thought process is, okay, Will and Jada, probably the longest, but Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze, that could be the wild card, because I know they were young when they got married, but I think Will and Jada were, a little, older than Sarah Michelle and Freddie. Portia and Ellen, Blake and Ryan. So, I threw out a wild card. So it's like, we don't if we can't agree, if we don't know collectively, we each write on a piece of paper without looking what we think the order is, and then we average it out. So my order was, the longest was Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. then it was Jada and Will, then it was Portia and Ellen, then Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So that was my longest to shortest list. My buddy Brad did Jada and Will first, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze second, Portia, Blake, and Ryan. And then Zach totally screwed it up. Let's see. What did he go? I think he went Will and Jada. Then he went Ellen and Portia. Then he went Blake and Ryan. Then he went Sarah and Freddie. Tom grew up a couple miles away from Jada Pinkett. Nice. So Card Hobby says Jada, Will, Gellar, Prinze, Lively, Reynolds, Ellen, Portia. That is incorrect. So one of our three, so each of the three of us had different responses. But when you average them out, we had Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith as longest. Second longest, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. Third longest, Ellen and Portia. Fourth longest, Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. That was the correct order. That was also what Brad, my friend Brad, put his exact order. So the average worked out. We got it correct. And because of my dumbass, I put 15 points instead of 20 because I was on old league trivia. We were kept out of the money round, and we got fourth place instead of second. So we got fourth out of 18 teams. Not bad. And it all came down to points. Good morning, Paul Heath. Now we got trivia out of the way. So yesterday, and I read this earlier on in the show, if you're just joining us, I saw this tweet last night from Watch the Breaks, Ivan. Awesome follow on Twitter, @WatchTheBreaks. His tweet, Hearing Tops sent out revised TOS, Terms of Service, to their hobby shop program today. Highlights include must-have dedicated tops-only spot in the shop. No B2B selling of sealed product. And breaks can be done live in the shop. Spots cannot be sold online or other platforms. That's wild. So I didn't want to talk about this until I saw like some type of confirmation that this is legit. In Real Breaks, locations in Minnesota and Wisconsin, my buddy Tom sets up here at the Madison Card Show. By the way, next Madison Card Show, we're about a month away, Saturday, July 22nd. Real Breaks Live, official Twitter account, responded to somebody's comment. Sorry, they did prohibit all shops from selling Topps product online. That's huge. So card shops under this program cannot sell wax online. That's wild. That goes completely against what I thought would happen between Fanatics and brick and mortar card shops. If true, and it appears to be so, that's wild. And I expected the Card Hobby says law of averages, math does have use. I thought this would be Fanatics needs to sell their stuff online. Makes sense. It does. It does. But I didn't think this would happen. Maybe I'm wearing rose-colored glasses and singing Kumbaya. But I thought Fanatics would work closer with card shops than this and not completely shut them down. I mean, so my questions, like how in the hell does, like, Real Breaks, they're a brick and mortar shop, but their whole business is online, like with breaks and like selling online. Like, how do they fill their breaks? Like, how does a brick and mortar shop fill breaks if you can't do it online? And maybe that's why Fanatics Live, maybe there's a little caveat where you can do this, on Fanatics Live. So Joe makes a good comment. Real Breaks likely has a separate breaker account. But I think that with this program, that could be true, but to buy directly from Topps, they have to be a part of this program. So if they do have a separate account, they wouldn't be able to buy directly from Topps. They'd have to buy to break online and do all this. They would have to do it from their breaker account, which would not give them the price breaks, is how I would read into that. John says, why would you not want to corner your own market? Flawed Thinker says, I did some research, and according to a definition I read from the FTC, Fanatics can't force someone to sell only on Fanatics for breaks. Interesting. So I don't know about the only opinion, or it doesn't matter what we all have them. They're like assholes, right? I was really surprised by this news. Maybe I shouldn't have been. Maybe I was just being a Pollyanna about it all. But I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. I'm surprised. I am surprised that and maybe there are caveats to all this. I don't know. I just saw that tweet and that reply, and that's about it. I've tried to find other articles and stuff, and there's just not much out there yet. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. I would assume, if true, we'll see this hitting the news cycle, and it'll be on all the podcasts and Sports Collectors Daily and Digest and all that stuff. Flipping Sports Guy says, any of those larger breakers should be trying to hitch themselves on the Fanatics Live wagon quickly. And I would imagine most are. I would imagine most already. Because I will say, the larger brick and mortars, even probably some of the smaller, they have good relations. From some of the people I know, they have good relationships with Fanatics. maybe they did. I don't know if they do now, but they did. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out, because it basically goes against what I've heard all along. I don't know. Flawed Thinker says, but I don't break, so it doesn't bother me. Same here to an extent. I mean, I don't break as a seller, but I break as a buyer. And so if you buy into breaks, it's certainly going to affect you in some capacity. John says, sorry for the lack of empathy. It doesn't impact me. And it doesn't really impact me either. But I buy into breaks of new WAC. And I know, John, you buy into breaks, but it's like set breaks of vintage. I buy into new breaks. And it'll affect pricing. It'll affect availability. So like that has me concerned. Now, is it a huge, will it like make me go pout in a corner? No, it's not going to affect me that much. But it will have some type of effect on me. Will it affect my business? Absolutely not. It's just when I do buy into breaks, it's just for my own personal Cubs collection. And I can, hell, I'll probably save money. If I can't buy into breaks like I used to, it might actually save me a few bucks. Fanatics can take care of distributors, breakers, and LCS all at the same time. You just can't be everything. Neo did a video about it this morning. Excellent. Thank you, Joe. I'm going to check that out after I stop this one. Paige and Deanie Bean, what's up? Good morning. It is regards to me not thinking it's a big deal overall, whether it impacts or not. And I'm curious because, Tom is a good friend of mine at Real Breaks. And so I'm just, as a friend, I'm concerned about his business. Anyone partnered with Fanatics Live will likely be allowed to do it in shop and sell online. And that's kind of what I was thinking. They don't want you on your own platform. And Real Breaks actually just created their own app, and now it's like, oh, sunk a lot of money into that app, and now wah. No, that's not good. But yeah, Fanatics Live, probably the way it's gonna go. So yeah, interesting. It's going to be interesting, at least for me. And I know some don't care. It's not impacting others. It really doesn't impact me, but I think it is really big news for many people. For people that buy into breaks, because breaking is, whether you break or not, it is a huge part of the hobby. From both standpoints. I mean, our buddy Warrior Cards, eBay, that news that hit last week. And I thought that was good and bad at the same time. I think it's good that eBay cracked down on it, but I think it was bad in the way they carried it out and didn't give transparency, because like Warrior Cards is a good breaker, but they didn't give him any insight on how to get approved. And that's BS in my opinion. So that's what I thought. So that's what I had for today. I'm going to go check out that Neo video. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. At the end of the day, the market will dictate whether it's a good idea or not. People may not flock to Fanatics. Then they'll need to pivot. Right on. So today, what is today? Wednesday, trash day. Back at it tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central. Friday morning, 7 a.m. Central. No Hobby Evolution on Saturday or Sunday. I'll be now. I might actually be heading down to Champaign Friday night instead of Saturday morning. So, heading down for bachelor party weekend. So that's what I had for today. Thanks for tuning in. eBay store link in the description. Have a great day. Talk tomorrow.